Stars Reach has come up with another update called World Reset. I'm Controlled Chaos, and in this video I'm going to go over exactly what this update covers. Now, this update is to put things back to the way they sort of mostly were before the Kickstarter campaign, because the Kickstarter campaign, they wanted to make it that you had a little bit more skills already set up and a bunch of inventory so you could build and stuff like that, to sort of help out with showing how the game works. This update reverts things back, so you don't get all the inventory stuff that you had, you don't get the extra skills and things like that, but don't go anywhere because they also added some stuff to this. So let's go ahead and go over this whole entire thing. So first off, the player starting inventory has been reset with one minor change. Originally, it was you had the Omni Blaster, the Pathfinder, the Terraformer, and the Harvester. They've also added into that the grappling hook to help out with getting around a bit. You are now going to have to make the Grav Mesh and craft that in order to get the jump pack or flight capabilities. On the other inventory stuff that they have also added in are consumables. So they give you a bunch of consumables right away, and that is 3 banana plasters, which is health medication. Then they have 3 bellyache relief, which is for stamina medication. Then they have 3 lime squirts, which is for focus medicine. Then they have 3 power cells, which restores energies to batteries. Then they add Flame Out, which removes on fire status effects from heat damage. Then they have Thaw Bones, 3 of those, or 2 of those actually, along with the Flame Out is 2, so I was wrong there. And that the Flame Out or the Thaw Bones removes freeze status from cold damage. Then they add in 2 Go Juice, which removes stun status from kinetic damage, recovery from stamina. And then they have 2 Cure All, which removes poison status from corrosive damage. Also, all skills have been reset, so you do not start out with any skills unlocked. You're going to have to work to unlock any skills, because they gave you the first homestead unlock so that people could immediately build right away. You're now going to have to do some of the ranger stuff to get the homestead unlocked, and then to build stuff you're going to need to do the mining to get the informer to get going and stuff like that. Now, on top of that, they talk about that you are going to have a whole entire organization of consumables has been done to your inventory. And the way this basically works is you have this radio menu that you can bring up, that you can choose the consumable to go with, or you can hit the F key to use a consumable. And it goes with the first consumable starting in the upper left corner and working its way down to 6 will show up in the radio menu. If you want to change that, they do not currently have a drag and drop system in the works right now. That's in the game. They are working on it. So wherever you want in that radio menu going from 1 to 6, you want to put in order in your inventory. And then using the F key will consume based on that inventory slotting the same way. So whatever's first in your inventory slot, starting from the upper left and going down to the lower right, it will read that way. Next, we're going to talk about character variants. They've added in more parts, some hairstyles, some clothing pieces to each race. 2 for each race, which is nice. We get new hairstyles, stuff like that. They do not currently have character customization. It is being worked on, they state. And they have the UI elements that are being worked on and stuff like that. So, originally in the game, before this patch, there were 2 variants for all 4 species, giving us a total of 16 character looks. Because they added in 2 more variants, that gives us a total of 32. It is still being randomized every time you load into a new world. So every time you load into space or onto one of the planets, it's going to change your looks. Don't freak out about it. It's just to make sure that the meshes for everything are working, everything looks right. We don't have any meshes colliding in, collision issues or anything like that. It's all testing purposes. Next up is new consumables. They have Go Juice, which we mentioned helps out with stun effects. They also have Waterway, which helps out with the electrified status effect. Then, even better is the combat experience system. Because they added in with the last patch the not the aggro, but the level difficulty of different mobs, the conning, which is, white is equal to yellow is a little tough, orange is tougher, red and purple. They've adjusted the amount of experience you get. Along with this enhancement, they've also determined, based on how aggressive the creature is, determines how much XP. So if you attack something like a bunny rabbit or a fawn that doesn't attack and just runs away, you're going to get 0 to little experience for that. Especially if it's white. If you attack a white aggressive creature, you're going to get some experience, and then for attacking yellow, a little bit more, attacking oranges, a little bit more, and so on and so forth, which is really nice. Another change that they have made with this whole entire combat experience rewards is the fact that the more aggro you get from the mobs, the more experience you're going to get when fighting those mobs. So if there's a group of people fighting a boss, the one who's getting the most aggro and most damage from the mob is going to get most of the experience. Same with healing. If you're healing someone, it's going to add aggro to the mob, and therefore you will get more experience. The healing part is probably a temporary thing because they do not have the healing skill trees for this. So the healing device is put in under weapons, and that's how that's all working out right now. That's probably going to change in the future, but so don't get used to the way healing XP is done right now. Then we want to talk about maker variants. They have added in a level of different types of makers into the game. So the simple makers are just going to be a basic maker, easy to take out. More difficult makers are going to have those shields with those anchors. The makers will grant different amount of XP. They also fixed the bug where you were able to hit the makers with shields without having to take the shield down. Another note that they want to make on this is they have made the anchors so that they're above ground and underground. So you may have to dig up some of the ground to get to these anchors, and then you have to hack them to get them to go away so that the shield drops down so that you can then take on the maker, which I really like. A couple other changes and fixes, improvements that they've made is they have done a client-side prediction for where projectiles spawn and handling homing projectiles. This now adds to the game, making combat feel quite a bit smoother for these types of things, which I really like. A number of players have been wanting inverted mouse options. We now have the inverted mouse options in the options screen, which is really great. They also taken out the /camp when in combat. It will no longer work when you are in combat. So it's not a quick way to lose aggro of the mob and stuff like that. There's been a new boss added into the game, and they are calling it Fumungus. And I hear that it's supposed to be the toughest boss mob to fight, which is really good. Bosses now have an increased wander range. so they will wander quite a far distance from where they appear from the boss public events when they spawn, which I think is really cool. Creatures and makers now have capability of creating point blank area effect attacks. I think this is cool. Makes it interesting for when you're up close and personal with those mobs. A bug has been fixed that scaled up creatures now have their orbital projectiles occurring in the correct place. That's a really good fix. The Helix will no longer heal enemy creatures. They did this to prevent trolling. They did this because some players were going out and healing creatures while someone was fighting those creatures, making it harder to take out those creatures. I think this is good because they don't want griefing in the game. I like that. They also stated that the Velociraptor and the Horror have been updated to use the new system. This means that the Velociraptors should be exploding properly and now should be more dangerous. The Velociraptor was just sort of sitting there and not doing anything, and we could just take it down, and it was very boring. So them adding this in and making that fix is great. They also added in for the Roach Hive, now creates flying roaches so that they can be more of a opponent in space, and I like that a lot. User interface. The information panel in your inventory, the I key, on the right side of your screen, there is now an info selection that shows useful information like what planets you are currently on, your location information, and where your homestead is located. I really love that homestead one. I like that they're giving us information. They also state that the grave marker resource information in your chat panel is now limited to only 1 decimal point of percentage, which is good. Homesteads. We now have homestead waypoints, so you're no longer having to remember where you placed your homestead and remember landmarks and stuff like that and accidentally to lose where you placed your homestead. Amazing fix right there. That is really great. You can no longer duplicate objects outside of your homestead. So when you're building, you cannot duplicate walls when you are outside of the bounds of your homestead. This I see as sort of 50-50. It means that you have to be within your homestead when building out, so you can't walk outside your homestead and then do some work that's inside your homestead for like better angles and stuff like that. I'm hoping they come up with some kind of compromise for this. They fixed an issue that disconnects players from ownership of their homesteads. That is an amazing fix. I've heard lots of people run into this problem where they're working on their homestead, they go away to do something else, and then they come back and the system is not recognizing that they own that homestead. Great fix there. There are some audio fixes done too. Audio support has been added to public events, so we are now going to get an audio alert when public events start and stop. This is really great because originally it was just a little thing on the screen. We weren't hearing anything. Getting that audio effect lets us know that, hey, there's an event going on, and then we need to look at the certain area on our screen to see what that event is. I like this. I'm hoping maybe in the future, probably after release, that each event will have its own sound effect. That'd be really cool. I'd love to see that kind of thing. The drones and gravity gun weapons now have audio. That's cool because I like using the drones and the gravity gun. Not having any audio is sort of an immersion breaker for me. And this is pre-alpha, so that's to be expected. They got to work on things, and especially in small teams, they can't do everything right away. And so they have to time things out. And so seeing that that's finally in there is great. The bellyache relief consumable now properly restores stamina, so that's been fixed. The Blackheart no longer creates a giant deer that stands around staring at you sort of like stupidly, the cure-all recipe now uses any types of mushrooms. So you don't have to go get specific mushrooms for the cure-all. That's an interesting fix, makes things a little bit easier to make the cure-all. The flame out recipe now uses citrus fruit, so you need to find the citrus fruit to make the flame outs. Other changes that they have done is the Invader from Outer Space public event has been improved. I gotta try that. I thought it was cool seeing it, and then doing it was sort of like, this is boring. I can't wait to see the improvements that they do on this. The heat interaction now functions properly again. So like melting sand into glass works correctly and things like that, which is good because, you know, a lot of glass is used for making different homestead based parts. The mining underwater should be working again. The terraformer currently not properly ignoring liquids has been fixed. So now when you're mining underwater and you're trying to get those gems or that stone or whatever, you're able to actually get it correctly. But these are all the major things that they have done for this. I think this is a great change. I like the fact that they're reverting back to the way it's supposed to be. I love the fact that they are starting to do testing on the amount of XP to give to start that balance process. They're adding in more cosmetic parts for us to take a look at on our characters. Adding in some sound and audio qualities is always a good thing. And then fixing some of the bosses and other creatures is amazing. Comment down below with your thoughts on this update. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe. Have a great day.